Welcome into Boxing Scene Today. Well, we thought 2025 would be a special year for boxing. Well, it's not over yet. That's right. The December 6th card getting better and better. Also, a big fight announced for early 2026 as we keep on rolling with some really entertaining fights. To help me break it down, Jimmy Smith in studio alongside Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, and Coach Garcia joining us via Zoom. See, Paulie already has his Halloween costume ready to go. He's a pirate this year. So, December 6th, O'Shaquie Foster, Stephen Fulton, of course. This is on the undercard to the Isaac Pitbull Cruz Lamont Roach Jr. This card getting better and better, Chris. And this fight, an easy one to get excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one that's been announced kind of a while ago, but we've been excited about it for some time when we first started hearing mutterings about this. Stephen Fulton, man, he's going up another weight class, fighting another world champion, looking to make history. I mean, what a resurgence that man's career has had since his lone defeat to Naoya Inoue, and which was, I mean, destructive. He was absolutely outboxed and destroyed by Naoya Inoue, but then has since come back to win a title at 26, now fighting at 130, looking to win another title. And O'Shaquie Foster, man, regardless, not even just the weight, the fact that he's going up for a new weight class. O'Shaquie Foster would have been tough no matter what. I mean, he's a very talented guy, great counterpuncher, good boxer, and he's big for the weight class. So not only is Stephen Fulton stepping up into a new weight class, he's fighting a big guy in that class, and he's at the top of the heap. So my hat goes off to Stephen Fulton, one of my favorite young guys, or favorite guys out there right now, fighting another really tough, another champion in another weight class.
Yeah, wasn't Fulton the Timbs and jorts guy, Paulie?
Yes.
Last time out, Paul. Come on, he was rocking the Timbs and the jorts, but an easy guy to root for, right? An easy guy to get behind against O'Shaquie Foster, who once again, as Paulie said, very talented boxer. What's your thoughts on this fight, Paulie?
Yeah, Jimmy, I really like the fight. First off, not just a Halloween patch. Everybody knows I got poked in the eye in my fight. I am fine. I can see. I'm not blind in my eye. This is just to prevent the sunlight from hitting my eye or any light from hitting my eye, just so the pupil can have a better chance to heal. So, no, I'm fine. I could actually go without wearing it, but it would just be safer to wear it and protect the eye. Anyway, with this fight. I actually like this fight a lot. It's a very difficult fight to call. It's a very evenly matched fight. It was originally on the Fundora Thurman card, which was scheduling to be up to be a very fun card. And now this card itself, like the champ said, is really becoming more and more fun with these fights being added on. Fulton is the epitome of the cliche, you're only good as your last fight. I mean, really, he was looking amazing up until the Inoue fight, and then after the Inoue fight, people wrote him off. Then he had a lackluster showing after the Inoue fight, the fight afterwards, and of course, more people wrote him off and saying, "Oh, he might be done," including me. I was thinking, man, maybe the Inoue fight changed him. And then the Timbs and jorts fight happened. The Timbs and jorts fight against Brandon Figueroa. He looked amazing, and then all of a sudden. Guess who's back in the circle of trust? And it's Stephen Fulton. That's who's back in the circle of trust. The possibilities became endless again as far as talking about what Stephen Fulton may accomplish in his magnificent career he's had thus far. You know, lost in Naoya Inoue looks less and less bad as Inoue tops everybody, you know, but the fact that he's getting himself back into the mix, dominated Brandon Figueroa after, you know, having had a past fight against Brandon Figueroa, which could have went either way. That was a big statement, especially when people were writing him off. And now O'Shaquie Foster, who is Mr. Cardiac Kids, right? I mean, he's always in a fun fight. He's inconsistent himself. So you never know what version of O'Shaquie Foster you're going to get. This is why this fight is so difficult to call. And it's one of those fights that on paper really sticks out at you and says, it's going to be an interesting one. It may not be a rock'em sock'em fight, but for boxing fans, you know, really good technical fight where it's really difficult to pick a winner.
Yeah, that's what I was exactly about to ask Coach Garcia. When you look at the tactics of this fight, as Paulie said, they can both kind of be maybe a little inconsistent, but my God, when they're on, you see a lot of boxing tactics on both sides. Is there somebody you favor in this one, Coach?
It is a tough one. It is a tough decision to make. Both are great fighters. You know, if you know, I'm leaning towards O'Shaquie Foster. He's the champion. He's the junior lightweight in that division, and you know, Fulton is moving up. So that's the only reason I could favor Fulton. But I mean, O'Shaquie Foster. But it's a very challenging fight. I think it's a very, very fight. I could call it a 50-50 fight because you know, it is that good, and I'm excited about this whole card. You know, I think the whole card is lining up to be a great card. It should be good. People should be very excited about it, because I think all fights are going to be great.
And also remember the Amar Kanuli versus Arislan Lara, the unification fight at 160 pounds on the same card. So this whole card itself ending up being very, very full. Chris, are we seeing a little bit more of the I want to say the MMA model of putting decent cards together where top to bottom, guys like us, the dorks, I'm going to be sitting there watching this card for 3-4 hours. It's stacked. Paulie?
Jimmy, before MMA guys, Don King was doing this. This is the Don King model first.
Going old school. Yeah. Let's call it the Don King model, where Chris, from top to bottom, it's an entertaining card.
Yeah, you're getting your money's worth, and I think that's due to competition. There's competition with promoters competing with each other. Obviously, we've got all the old heads, the PBC, the top ranks, the Matchrooms of the world, but now we got TKO coming in. So we got TKO coming in. So there's another competitor on the block, another reason to stack the cards, another reason to make the cards good. And then also, Jimmy, to your point, you mentioned the UFC and the UFC model. So boxing is always competing with the UFC as well. So there's a lot of competition out there, and competition breeds good products, and this is a good product from top to bottom. You're going to get your money's worth for this event. It's keeps getting better and better, which is music to our ears as we get closer to fighting it. But yeah, I'm with you, Jimmy. I'm going to be watching this not because I have to, because I do have to, because I got to talk about
it's
every
our job
that happens. I'm going to be watching from beginning to end with the same amount of enthusiasm as the fight wears on, the card wears on.
Hey guys, you know who else makes great card stock, top to bottom stacked? Pro Box TV.
Who might that be?
Amen.
Amen. I ex fans at home to judge Pro Box TV, not on our winners, but on our losers, because we have so few. We constantly have super fights, competitive super fights, even without the fact of the huge names yet. But we're gonna grow into it. Judge us on our losers, because we have so few. Who said that? Jordan Belfort.
Jordan Belfort. Very, very true. Yeah, the Wolf of Wall Street. All right, so, Paulie, as the Brooklyn native, I got to throw it to you about early next year. Subriel Matias versus Dalton Smith. That is January 10th at Barclays Center. Subriel Matias, maybe they're kind of pushing him as the next maybe Puerto Rican star, getting butts in seats in Brooklyn. What's your thought on this fight?
Yeah, Matias has sort of had a resurgence. After losing to Paro, people were kind of writing him off. But he's the guy with the right style in front of him, can look destructive and devastating. He's a very all-out pressure guy. Does Dalton Smith have the boxing acumen that's the question, to pull off another Paro type of performance and knock off Matias? Because either you have that or you don't within that style. If you don't have that style, Matias is going to make your life miserable in the ring and keep you working and keep the pace at a heavy. If you don't have the waist to offset him, it's a difficult fight. I like Dalton Smith a lot, but again, coming from the UK, let's see how he does on the world stage. He's done very well. He's a guy who's pushed a lot by Eddie Hearn and the Matchroom team. So a lot of good things are expected of him. This is sort of the test type of fight to see if he's going to be the real deal or not, because Matias himself, for his inconsistencies, is still the real deal.
So, Coach, I have to ask you, when you look at Matias a couple years ago, Paulie and Chris talked about him kind of being the boogeyman at 140 pounds. Very hard puncher, has that kind of Trinidad kind of style where he loads up on his punches, but real power. A lot of people were avoiding him. Is it a matter of Smith having to outbox him, the only way to win? What's your thought on it, Coach?
I think that is the way to beat him. You have to outbox him, but with somebody like Matias, who was a monster, nobody wanted to face him at 140, and now there's a little more chances of people trying to thinking they could beat him. They could just get into trouble. I think Matias started off so good, and then maybe went off a few fights where maybe his discipline, maybe he started getting a little too big in his head, to a point where he needs to get back to the way he was a couple years ago. And I think he will be for this fight. I think he's going to be so. This is one of those scary guys to face at 140 division. I think he still has everything left. I think he went through a couple of fights where his performances weren't that great, but I think it was more maybe his discipline, maybe people around him, maybe personal stuff that didn't give him those performances that we were all afraid of. But I think he'll perform this time. I pick him, hopefully by knockout.
Now, if you look at Dalton Smith, Chris, 18-0, 13 knockouts, not necessarily a power puncher, but this is a big step up in class comparatively early on in his career. Is it about testing his maturity in this fight? Because the power of Matias, you can't make a lot of mistakes.
This fight is all about whether or not Dalton Smith is ready for the big stage. That's it. That's what this fight is, because you're looking at, the quote unquote boogeyman of the division with Subriel Matias. He's a scary guy. He's a dangerous guy. He's a pressure guy. But he's also 33, going on 34. Those guys with his type of style generally don't have longevity on their side. And Dalton Smith is a good puncher. Yeah, 13 KOs in his 18 wins, but he's pretty destructive in the way that he goes about his operations. He's been the distance several times. I think he's been 12 twice. He's been 10 a few times. So he's not afraid to go the distance as well. It's really going to come down to if he can be disciplined enough to box smart and not get dragged into a firefight with a guy like Subriel Matias. And then from there, this is a very interesting division, and it's with the winner of this fight, there's great opportunities against a guy like Teofimo Lopez. So there's a lot of movement. Gary Antoine Russell is another guy who's a stud in this division. A lot of good fights for the winner of this and the loser for that matter, because both these guys are still, with a loss even to each other here in this situation, are still going to be some of the top guys in the division.
Now, when you look at Matias, his loss in Puerto Rico, kind of a homecoming, it was like a celebration. Paulie, you didn't like how he was touching gloves on the way to the ring. He was kind of dancing around, seemed celebrating more than mentally focusing against Paro. That showed. So is this a test, too, of also the focus of Matias?
Yeah, sometimes that's a hard lesson. I can remember times in my career where, you sort of can lose yourself on the way to the ring. You forget that it's actually a fight and not a celebration. Sometimes you're in situations where there's such a fanfare going on around you that you on the way to the ring, you sort of get into that party atmosphere and you forget that everybody else gets the party, but you actually have to perform and you have to fight, so you have to keep that concentration. And it seemed like Matias sort of fell into that, not to take away from Paro's performance, which was a great performance that night, but it didn't seem like the Matias we've come to know prior to that and even after that, to tell you the truth. So, I would say it's a learning experience for Matias, and I think once you go through it, you make a mental note. I know I had to make certain mental notes about certain things like that, and certainly, the psychology of a fight is can be overwhelming at times if you don't approach it right.
And when you look at it, Coach Garcia, when you look at this idea of testing him out as a Puerto Rican star in Brooklyn, where he gets a big knockout, he could be the go-to guy in Brooklyn for the Puerto Rican fans. What's your thought on his star potential with his style?
No, I think that's perfect place to put him. New York, Brooklyn. It's he's going to have a lot of Puerto Ricans there. It's the place where if you make it there, you've made it. We've gone through all the big stars in Puerto Rico that have done it. I think he's one that they're pushing to try to make it. I don't know how close he is to that because of his performances in the past, but that's the one. They're going to try to push. There's a couple more out there, but I think he's right now at that moment. He's the one. Especially with that knockout. The power. He goes out there to try to just destroy his opponents, and that's a perfect style for the Puerto Ricans. We go back to Tito Trinidad. That was people love that. So I think he's the style, the fighter that they're going to try to push to make him that Puerto Rican star.
Now, Chris, when you talk about stylistically, he is a monster puncher, but a Division 140 full of great boxers. Talk about Devin Haney, talk about Teofimo Lopez. Hopefully their showdown coming soon. This idea that in a division full of boxers, he might be the puncher, it can be a good place to be, or it can be on the outside looking in. What kind of performance does he need against Dalton Smith early next year? What's your thought on that, Chris, to put himself with that class?
I think he just needs to win. He needs to win, keep this belt. And he's already got the moniker of being a boogeyman and being a dangerous guy, to being a monster, and there was a pressure fighter who knocks you out. So he's already got that. I think he just needs to get by a young Dalton Smith, who this is the fight of his life, the fight of his career. And if he does that, I think it'll be pretty easy to make some of those big fights. I know him and Teofimo Lopez have had words. They did at the Manny Pacquiao Mario Barrios fight. They were both in the arena that night. They were going back and forth, talking trash. That looks like an easy fight that could be made. And stylistically, I really like that fight. I like to see how Teofimo Lopez could fight a disciplined fight against a dangerous guy. And I think it's a shootout. But in terms of what he needs to do, he just needs to win, in my opinion, because we already know what he is. I don't think he's going to go out there and turn into a boring fighter all of a sudden. He's an all-action guy, and that's what the weight division needs.
23 wins, 22 knockouts. We know he has power. It's going to be an entertaining fight early next year, but our dance card keeps getting filled here in 2025. More great fights to come as they make news. You'll find about it right here on Boxing Scene Today. Join us, find out why millions are watching.